say, because you had already been given a responsibility beyond your years with your youngest brother.
And it was only after I got in the movies, my parents came out to California.
Well, that was a burden for you too, wasn't it?
Terrible burden.
Talk to me about that.
My father had had a serious heart attack just before they came out. My mother was as aggressive, if not more so, than when we were in New York. And my brother wasn't manageable. So I had to run around the city to find someone that could help me ease the pain of the family and then ease the pain of my brother.
You still have a lot of feelings about Bobby.
A lot of feelings. And these were the things that were distracting me. There I said all I wanted to do was be in the movies. As soon as I got away from the cameras, I had these terrible things disturbing me.
Well, first, for a start, you had your mother there.
And then what I did was get married. 4 marriages. My sweet wife, Jilly, now, it's the first time I've had a companionship, a sharing.
Well, but don't forget, Tony, that in those early days, in those earlier marriages, it's very likely that you weren't really ready to be in a marriage, no matter what the woman was like. I mean, no matter
I wasn't.
You know, you'd had no modeling of
wasn't.
good parenting, good relationship. How could you have known how to be a good husband, how to relate to women? No.
All I wanted was have a little family, excuse me, fucking privileges.
Yes.
You see, that's all I needed.
Yes.
I was a very, well, I'll call myself a horny guy.
Yes.
I was an excitable sexual guy.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't I be? It's me. I'm not offending anybody. If I found somebody who wanted to share it with me, you know? And I would decide who that person was going to share it with me, the size of her. There was never any doubt in my mind. The bosoms, the bottom, the legs, the way she smelled, the way she smiled at me when I made a joke. Me being the one that guided her through whatever evening we had. I liked that, and the girls loved it too.
And there must have been a part of you that thought, finally, you know, there's some time for me to have something good in my life.
Right.
Or did you question whether or not you deserved it?
I never felt you mentioned that. I never felt I deserved it. I was lucky to get off the streets and have a bed that I shared with someone, you know, and took the responsibility of having children and running a life and running a career. It was too perfect. I felt I didn't deserve it. I didn't feel I had contributed enough, you know.
Well, that in itself often creates problems within a marriage, because there's an internal feeling, whether it's expressed or not, that transfers to the other person, a sense of not deserving to be happy. And there's an interesting way, of course, in which we will, if we don't feel we deserve to be in a relationship, we will almost do things to push the other person away.
Right.
That's where you'll sleep around and you'll do things that will screw up the marriage.
Yes. But I didn't find sleeping around as a detriment. I found it necessary for me because I won't say I wasn't reaching a climax. I wasn't fulfilling myself. And I'm glad we're talking about this. For a long time, I tried to examine that very point. And it was very hard for me to think of it as a negative experience. I'd meet a woman, a girl, and there was a look between our eyes that was most appealing, that we understand as a way of attracting each other. We don't have to touch each other, just look at each other.
You just know.
You just know, don't you?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you find you're reaching out a little bit further. And then I felt I reached a plateau. So we're two strangers kind of meeting that would erupt with each other, separate, and then like a lady and a gentleman, I'd kiss her hand and say goodbye. I never found that bad, but I'm still very nice and pleasant with every woman I meet. You know, I want them to get a little touch of my magic.
That's very generous of you.
Oh, it's the least I can do.
If you felt that you didn't deserve anybody at all, what must it have been like for you to be with some of the most beautiful women in the world, the luminaries of the world?
Marilyn Monroe and I had a close relationship. We met in 49. I got in movies in 48. I was 23, 24. She was 20, 19 or 20. And we taught each other what it was like to be a man and a woman.
What do you mean by that?
Those subtleties of feelings, those subtleties of loving, those subtleties of being able to reach out to another person and lie there quietly and all of a sudden burst into a... She was beautiful, I remember her. The way she smelled, the way she lie in a bed. She was funny. Whenever she laughed, her bosom shook. Neither Marilyn or I had had enough experiences to have these stories about our opposite people, and we needed them. I defy anybody, any guy or any girl, in their first love experiences to not find them unique and different.
Our sexual responses are all different.
Enormous. I mean, you know, some people just don't relax you at all. It doesn't mean they don't enjoy where they are, but they just don't react at all. Other people's are off the ceiling, like Batman. You know, it's got that whole range. That's what that experience does for you. It makes you King Kong or Mrs. Kong.
So it sounds as if you and Marilyn became intimate. I'm not sure how long this was. Was this a lengthy relationship?
No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been. Because if it had, she and I would have had to make some enormous changes in our lives.
Because of the studios, you mean?
Well, because of the work. Oh. We couldn't make it. One goes to Bangkok, the other goes to Africa.
Well, this was well before Some Like It Hot, right?
Oh, way before. This was 1949. Some Like It Hot was 1958.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And she was 20, I was 24. Yeah. We couldn't nail ourselves down by that time. Nobody could.